Learn English through Stories M1 PDF. Adapted and modified by Kulwant Singh Sandhu. Contents: A Little Princess 0. Introduction. 1. Chapter 1. School in England. 2. Chapter 2. The Diamond Mines. 3. Grammar page. Parts of speech. Introduction. Sarah Crewe is a very rich little girl. She first comes to England when she is 7, and her father takes her to Miss Minchin's school in London. Then he goes back to his work in India. Sarah is very sad at first, but she soon makes friends at school. 1. Chapter 1. School in England. One cold winter day, a little girl and her father arrived in London. Sarah Crewe was 7 years old, and she had long black hair and green eyes. She sat in the cab next to her father and looked out of the window at the tall houses and the dark sky. "What are you thinking about, Sarah?" Mr. Crewe asked. "You are very quiet." He put his arm round his daughter. "What are you thinking about, Sarah?" Mr. Crewe asked. "I'm thinking about our house in India," said Sarah. "And the hot sun and the blue sky. I don't think I like England very much, father." "Yes, it's very different from India," her father said. "But you must go to school in London, and I must go back to India and work." "Yes, father, I know," said Sarah. "But I want to be with you. Please come to school with me. I can help you with your lessons." Mr. Crewe smiled, but he was not happy. He loved his little Sarah very much, and he did not want to be without her. Sarah's mother was dead, and Sarah was his only child. Father and daughter were very good friends. Soon they arrived at Miss Minchin's school for girls and went into the big house. Miss Minchin was a tall woman in a black dress. She looked at Sarah and then gave a very big smile. "What a beautiful child," she said to Mr. Crewe. Sarah stood quietly and watched Miss Minchin. "Why does she say that?" she thought. "I'm not beautiful, so why does she say it?" Sarah was not beautiful, but her father was rich. And Miss Minchin liked girls with rich fathers because it was good for the school and good for Miss Minchin too. "Sarah's a good girl," Mr. Crewe said to Miss Minchin. "Her mother was French, so she speaks French well. She loves books, and she reads all the time, but she must play with the other girls and make new friends too." Miss Minchin was a tall woman in a black dress. "Of course," said Miss Minchin. She smiled again. "Sarah is going to be very happy here, Mr. Crewe." Mr. Crewe stayed in London for a week. He and Sarah went to the shops, and he bought many beautiful, expensive dresses for his daughter. He bought books and flowers for her room, and a big doll with beautiful dresses too. Miss Minchin smiled, but she said to her sister Amelia, "All that money on dresses for a child of 7. She looks like a little princess, not a schoolgirl." Mr. Crewe bought many expensive dresses for his daughter. When Mr. Crewe left London, he was very sad. Sarah was very sad too, but she did not cry. She sat in her room and thought about her father on the ship back to India. "Father wants me to be happy," she said to her new doll. "I love him very much and I want to be a good daughter, so I must be happy." It was a very big and very beautiful doll, but of course it could not answer. Sarah soon made new friends in the school. Some little rich girls are not very nice children. They think they are important because they have money and lots of expensive things. The Sarah was different. She liked beautiful dresses and dolls, but she was more interested in people and books and telling stories. The stories were all about kings and queens and princesses. She was very good at telling stories. She was a clever child, and the other girls loved to listen to her. The stories were all about kings and queens and princesses in wonderful countries across the sea. "How do you think of all those things?" asked her best friend Ermengarde. "I have all these pictures in my head," said Sarah. "So it's easy to tell stories about them." Poor Ermengarde was not clever. She could never remember any of her school lessons, and Miss Minchin was always angry with her. Sarah often helped Ermengarde with her lessons. "Listen, Ermi," she said. "You remember that French king, Louis XVI? Well, this is a story about him. One day in 1792. And so Ermengarde learned her lessons through Sarah's stories, and she loved her friend very much. But not everybody was Sarah's friend. Lavinia was an older girl. Before Sarah came, Lavinia was the richest and the most important girl in the school. But Sarah's father was richer than Lavinia's father. So now Sarah was more important than Lavinia, and Lavinia did not like that. "Oh, Sarah is so clever," Lavinia often said. "Sarah is so good at French, her dresses are so beautiful, and she can sing so well, and she is so rich, of course, Miss Minchin likes her best." Sarah did not answer when Lavinia said these things. Sometimes it was not easy, but Sarah was a kind, friendly girl, and she did not like to be angry with anyone. Now Sarah was important, and Lavinia did not like that, too. Chapter 2. The Diamond Mines. And so 3 years went by. Sarah's father wrote to her often, and Sarah wrote loving little letters back to him. One day, a very exciting letter arrived. Everybody in the school talked about it for days. "My friend," wrote Mr. Crewe, "has some mines in northern India, and a month ago his workers found diamonds there. There are thousands of diamonds in these mines. But it is expensive work to get them out. My friend needs my help. So, little Mrs., this was Mr. Crewe's special name for Sarah, I am putting all my money into my friend's diamond mines, and one day you and I are going to be very rich. There are thousands of diamonds in these mines." Sarah was not interested in money, but a story about diamond mines in India was exciting. Nearly everybody was very pleased for Sarah, but not Lavinia, of course. "Huh," she said. "My mother has a diamond, lots of people have diamonds. What's so interesting about diamond mines?" "But there are thousands of diamonds in these mines," said Ermengarde. "Perhaps millions of them." Lavinia laughed. "Is Sarah going to wear diamonds in her hair at breakfast then, or is it Princess Sarah now?" Sarah's face went red. She looked at Lavinia angrily but said quietly, "Some people call me Princess." "I know that. But princesses don't get angry or say unkind things, so I'm not going to say anything to you, Lavinia." "To me, you are a princess," Ermengarde said to Sarah later. "And you always look like a princess in your beautiful dresses." Sarah was a princess to another girl, too. This was Becky. She was a servant in Miss Minchin's school, and she was only 14 years old, but she worked all day and sometimes half the night. She carried things upstairs and downstairs, she cleaned the floors, she made the fires, and she was always tired and hungry and dirty. She and Sarah had very different lives. Becky cleaned the floors, made the fires. But one day Sarah came into her bedroom, and there was Becky, sleeping in a chair. "Oh, you poor thing," Sarah said. Then Becky opened her eyes and saw Sarah. She got up at once. "Oh, miss," she said. "I'm very sorry, miss. I just sat down for a minute and—" "Don't be afraid," said Sarah. She gave Becky a friendly smile. "You were tired, that's all." There was Becky, sleeping in a chair. Are you going to tell Miss Minchin?" asked Becky. She began to move to the door. "Of course not," said Sarah. "Please don't run away, sit down again for a minute. You look so tired." "Oh, miss, I can't," Becky said. "You're very kind, miss, but Miss Minchin—" "Please," said Sarah. She took Becky's hand. "You're only a little girl like me, let's be friends." And so, Becky sat down again, and soon she and Sarah were friends. Nobody knew about this, of course. Rich little girls at Miss Minchin's school did not make friends with servant girls, and it was a wonderful thing for Becky. Nearly every day she and Sarah met in Sarah's bedroom, just for 5 or 10 minutes. Becky was always hungry, and Sarah often bought nice things for her to eat. They sat and talked, and sometimes Sarah told Becky some of her stories. Becky loved that. "Oh, miss," she said, "you tell them so beautifully. Sometimes I like your stories better than things to eat." And after those visits to Sarah's room, Becky always felt better, not so tired, and not so hungry. Some months later, Sarah had her 11th birthday. Lessons stopped for the afternoon, and there was a big party for all the girls in the school. Everybody at Sarah's party was very happy. "This party is expensive for us," Miss Minchin said to her sister Amelia, "but it looks good for the school." That afternoon there was a visitor to the school, Miss Minchin's lawyer. He went with Miss Minchin into her office, and they closed the door. In the schoolroom next door, there was a lot of noise from Sarah's party. Everybody in there was very happy. But in the office, Miss Minchin was not happy. She looked at the lawyer angrily. "What are you saying? MR Crew has no money. What about the diamond mines?" "There are no diamond mines," said the lawyer. "Well, there are mines, but there are no diamonds in them." "But Mr. Crew's good friend," began Miss Minchin. "Mr. Crew's good friend," said the lawyer, "ran away with all MR Crew's money. Ralph Crew was ill with a fever, and when he heard about this, he got worse. A week later, he was dead." "Dead?" cried Miss Minchin. "But what about his daughter Sarah, and this expensive birthday party?" "Sarah Crew has no money," said the lawyer. "Not a penny in the world, Miss Minchin, not a penny." "She must leave my school at once," Miss Minchin said angrily. "She must go this afternoon." "Where?" said the lawyer. "Out into the streets, an 11-year-old girl that's not going to look very good for your school, Miss Minchin." Miss Minchin's face went red. "You can't put her out in the streets," said the lawyer. He stood up. "But perhaps she can work for you." The lawyer left, and Miss Minchin called her sister Amelia. "Bring Sarah Crew here at once," she said. 2 minutes later, Sarah, in her beautiful blue party dress, stood in front of Miss Minchin. "Have you a black dress, Sarah?" Miss Minchin said coldly. "Yes, Miss Minchin," said Sarah. "But it's very small." "She must leave my school at once," Miss Minchin said. "Go and put it on at once," said Miss Minchin. "Your father is dead. There were no diamond mines, and your father's friend ran away with all his money. You have nothing, not a penny, but I am going to be very kind to you. You can stay in my house. But now you must be a servant and work for your bread. You can sleep in a servant's room upstairs, next to Becky's room." 3. Grammar page. Parts of speech. Words are divided into different kinds or classes called parts of speech, according to their use. That is, according to the work they do in a sentence. The parts of speech are 8 in number. 1. Noun. 2. Adjective. 3. Pronoun. 4. Verb. 5. Adverb. 6. Preposition. 7. Conjunction. 8. Interjection. A noun is a word used as the name of a person, place, or thing. As, Akbar was a great king. Kolkata is a big city. The rose smells sweet. The sun shines bright. His courage won him honor. Note: the word thing includes all objects that we can see, hear, taste, touch, or smell, and something that we can think of, but cannot perceive by the senses. 2. An adjective is a word used to add something to the meaning of a noun. As, he is a brave boy. There are 20 boys in this class. 3. A pronoun is a word used instead of a noun. As, John is absent because he is ill. The book are where you left them. 4. A verb is a word used to express an action or state. As, the girl wrote a letter to her cousin. Kolkata is a big city. Iron and copper are useful metals. 5. An adverb is a word used to add something to the meaning of a verb, an adjective or another adverb. As, he worked the sum quickly. This flower is very beautiful. She pronounced the word quite correctly. 6. A preposition is a word used with a noun or a pronoun to show how the person or thing denoted by the noun or pronoun stands in relation to something else. As, there is a cow in the garden. The girl is fond of music. A fair little girl sat under a tree. A conjunction is a word used to join words or sentences. As, Rama and Hari are cousins. 2 and 2 make 4. I ran fast but missed the train. An interjection is a word which expresses some sudden feeling. As, hurrah! We have won the game. Alas! She is dead.